Hey everyone, this is Ruth from Mindful Selfish Teacher, and today I'm excited we are here with a special guest, Steve Kent from Steve Kent Financial Services. Steve has a special place in his heart for teachers, which we'll let him explain in a moment. But today, Steve is going to be sharing financial advice specifically for teachers in the United States. And we are excited for our teachers to hear these amazing financial tips. So, Steve, thank you for joining us today. We really appreciate you taking the time.
No, my pleasure. Thank you, Ruth. I appreciate the opportunity. Um, I have a special place in my heart for teachers from a couple of reasons. One is my sister was a teacher slash educator for 13 years in a place called Brooklyn, New York, if anybody's ever heard of Brooklyn. Very famous place. Um, I also am myself a financial literacy educator. So everything I do is based on education, first and foremost. So let me give you a quick background of how I got to this position. I ran a very successful career, if you will, in corporate IT for 32 years. And I finally had enough and went out on my own to open a business. Now, having been in corporate where they do everything for you, I went into business and knew less than zero about running a business. Stayed for 2 years, trusted the wrong people, didn't know the questions to ask, and let's be nice and say it didn't end well. So at the end of those 2+ years, um, I was heavily in debt to credit cards. I lost well into six figures, my entire life savings, and I went bankrupt. So after 5 years of working my way out of it, I then met somebody who explained to me a lot of the way things really do work if you're educated on those things. And what I realized in my career of trying to work through my own business, I was what they call financially illiterate. Yes, that was me. I have a 4-year degree in accounting. I have a master's degree. I worked with the C-level suite for years. I was financially illiterate. So when I learned what was going on, I made it my mission, and my why statement is to help people to not make the same financial mistakes I made. And I became an educator in that vein of how can I share knowledge? Now, let me also say before I get started, everything that I educate, every time I meet with an individual or a family, there is no cost, zero out of pocket, whether we talk once, twice, 20 times, zero cost out of pocket. Everything we do is confidential. It is not recorded. So there is no record other than me and whoever I'm talking to through Zoom or in person if they're local. That's how I work. That's how I believe it should be done. So having said that, let's dive in.
Perfect. And I'll just add in there, I think that your story is perfect for teachers, having been in education for 17 years myself. Uh, I can definitely say, even being a math teacher and even having taught personal finance and consumer math, I was financially illiterate as well.
Right.
We're just not taught that in
Correct.
schools. So it's so wonderful to hear that you recognize that, even someone having that background, such as yourself, but realizing I'm financially illiterate, I need to get myself educated. So that's wonderful that you set out on this mission to educate other individuals, including teachers, because education really is the first step. And even more amazing that you're willing to do that at no cost to the individuals. So,
To
stunning.
me, it's the right way. It's the way it's supposed to be. Not enough people do that. And then I talk about some of this stuff as we go through, but you're absolutely correct. We're on the same mindset of it's not taught. It's not. and they don't want it to be taught. And I'll go through that, my reasons why. But
Yeah, I have some theories as well, but yeah, we'll leave that for another time. So, yeah, I know that we previously spoke and brainstormed what are some financial areas of concern specifically for teachers? And so let's kind of go through our list. It's in two broad categories. And the first category is along the lines, those very lines of education. I don't know much about managing my money. So that could be a situation a teacher's in. I just don't have that education that I need to really understand what is going on. It might be in every teacher, just because you're a teacher doesn't mean that you're in, one category, but some of the categories that we thought of that teachers specifically might have with managing money could be not having enough saved for emergencies, right? A lot of teachers are living paycheck to paycheck. Student loans for many, many teachers. Most teachers, I would say, don't quote me on that because I don't know for sure, but I would say a lot of teachers at least
Mhm.
have gone through the student loan process and are looking at that. Or it could be, again, just in general, never really learning how to budget because, again,
Mhm.
it's not taught in schools. So, yeah, any tips, advice, anything you have along that topic of managing money, we are all ears.
So I have what you sent me, and I put in some comments and I printed it out so I don't forget. But I
Okay.
have different points for each of those four topics that you just mentioned, and some examples of how other people were negatively impacted because they didn't understand.
I am excited to hear what you have come up with.
Me too. That was only kidding. Only kidding. Okay.
No, I'll let you take the lead, and you can address it in whatever order you feel is
Okay.
best.
Sure. Okay. Let me know when you want me to get started.
Yeah, please
Oh,
do
okay.
so. Any tips on managing money for teachers?
All right. So thanks, Ruth. So let's start out with a topic about not knowing how to manage money. Well, let me start out by saying it's not okay because obviously there's a problem, but most people and a lot of teachers in general don't know how to budget and I shouldn't say but to manage money. And the reason that it's not known is you're not supposed to know. And I know that sounds crazy, but major corporations don't want people to know how to manage their money. We are purposely not taught in school, in work, or in life. And again, it's done on purpose. And because we don't know how, we're constantly in debt. And let me give you an example. Consider credit cards. And I have this talk that I do that I call the credit card scam. And it goes something like this. You're 18, you're in high school, and right before you turn 18, you get this letter in the mail. And it says, "Congratulations, Ruth. You're now an adult. In 3 days, you're turning 18. You're an adult. We're going to give you a credit card." And Ruth's like, "I love it. I love it." So Ruth takes that credit card with a $500 limit and goes out and charges. It's free money. They don't, you sign the document, but nobody reads the fine print in the document. You just say, "I have a card," and you go use it. The next month in the mail comes a bill for $20. And Ruth sits there and says, "Wait a minute. I charged 500. I only owe 20. This is awesome. Pay the 20. Next month you get $20 bill, a $20 bill. The next month you get another $20 bill and you keep paying $20. The third, fourth, fifth month, guess what comes in the mail? another credit card because the credit card company loves you. They love you because they're giving you another card or a higher credit limit. And you keep paying that $20, $30, $40 minimum payment. By the time you realize what's going on, you're in debt over your head and you can't even pay minimum payment. This is what they want you to do. They want you to be in debt. They don't want you to be able to manage your money because it's just going out the door. They make it easy to spend and pay minimum, spend and pay minimum. You don't have to manage your money because they're your friend. They want you to do this. What I help people with is to say, let's take a look at what you're spending and why you're spending. Is it a nice to have or a must have? Let's help you manage what comes in versus what goes out. I personally, every month, I created an Excel spreadsheet where I track every penny. And I know it sounds crazy, but I track every penny that goes out the door because I have an income, I have expenses. But what I do is I start with the income, I pay myself first, and we'll get into that in a few minutes. The rest then goes to expenses. So I know every month I'm building my savings, I'm building my retirement every month because I'm paying myself first. Now, if you're in that situation, and we'll get to that in a second, that you don't have enough money, then we have to sit down again and figure out what's coming in, what's going out. If it truly is, in fact, that you don't have enough money, then we have to explore options of potentially additional sources of income because you can't keep living in the red. Sooner or later, your savings are gone and then you have a problem. So there are multiple ways to address the issue, and an educator understands that because they're planning the classroom, they're planning their lesson plans, they're planning everything. Let's go through a process to plan how to manage your money. It's the same process, just a different topic, and we can help with that as well.
Wonderful. Yeah, so many things come to mind, Steve, as you were speaking. I know it sounds a little bit like a conspiracy theory, not having this financial education intentionally. However, I am thinking of, and this is actually in our Mindful Selfish Teacher course. We have a section on somebody named Cody Sanchez who talks very much about the language of money and
Mhm.
how those that understand the language don't really want those that don't understand it to understand it because
Mhm.
then now they have an advantage that they didn't previously have. So there's definitely some level of truth to that. And of course, there's people, I think I've heard it said something along the lines of there's two kinds of people, those that are paying interest and those that are collecting interest. And
Correct.
obviously, those that are collecting the interest want to stay on that side. So, yeah, there's definitely some things working against us, both on an individual and institutional educational level as well. So it really is up to us to find, seek out the help that we need. So that's
It is.
wonderful that you understand that and you have that very same mission to help provide that. It's almost like when you discover something amazing and eye opening for the first time, and you're just like, wow, how did I never know this before? Your first instinct is, I need to share this, I need to let everybody else know. So that's wonderful that you feel that that urge to be able to to help other individuals out, especially teachers. Do you remember, Steve, back in the day when they sent real credit cards in the mail? Do you remember
Yes,
that?
they
Yeah.
still do. They
Do
still
they?
do.
Do
I got
they?
one the other day.
Oh my goodness, like an actual one that all you have to do is activate it and it's ready to
Yep,
go?
I got one the other day.
And you hadn't had to go through a pre-approval process? They just sent an actual one, huh?
They sent an actual,
Oh,
which I was very surprised at because knowing mail is not necessarily the safest anyway. Certainly, I'm in New York, so I can't speak for the rest of the country. But uh, yeah, I actually got a real card in the mail that I had to
oh,
dial. So the way they protect themselves is when you activate the credit card, you have to use it from your phone that is on their on the records. And somehow, I don't know how they do this, they can determine that yes, you're dialing in to activate from your cell phone. Then you put in the card number, you put
oh.
in some other information, and that's therefore they validate that it's you, and then they activate the card. So this way, it takes away the issue that if somebody steals the card, they really can't use it.
See. Well, I don't feel special now. Uh, I thought that was just a general thing that they stopped doing that. I remember back in the day when I very first started teaching, oh my goodness, not just you were talking about once a month having a credit card sent
Mhm.
to you.
Yep.
We're talking dozens of cards in the space of a
Right.
month. And at one point, my husband thought it was, I think we still have it. He started collecting them just because he was so shocked at how many like real credit cards were actually being sent to us. And we have a little box downstairs. I'm pretty sure it's still there. And it's this massive stack. And I
Hmm.
would take it to
Yep.
school with me and I would show my students and I would say, look at how many offers you're going to get tempted with.
Right.
Yeah, so crazy. The only things that I don't really see offers anymore, but I'll see those, little fake cardboard cards that
Mm-hmm.
say this is not a
Right.
real card. But yeah, those offers are left and right. And
Yeah.
even if it's not credit card, there are so many other forms of debt that I get offers for all the time, including personal loans. So
Mhm.
yeah, so many opportunities for us um, to kind of get into that. What did you call it? The credit card
I call it
scheme?
the credit card scam.
Scam. The credit
And
card.
it's the same thing you just said. You get all these credit cards, and what if in fact you started to use them? So if each card has a $500 credit limit and you got 10 cards and you use them all, you now owe $5,000. If you paid minimum payment, and these numbers are just not 100% accurate, they're close. But let's say on each of those cards, they wanted $20 a month minimum payment. $20 times 10 cards is $200 a month. You will pay, well, let me back it up a second. That credit card companies don't want the $5,000 you just charged. What they want is the $200 a month in interest for the rest of your life because you will never pay off the $5,000 at the 200 a month. You will never pay it off. They don't care about the 5,000. They want that 200 a month times 12 months is $2,400. 2 years is 4,800. So in 2 years, you've almost paid the whole 5,000 you've charged, but never knocked it down. It's still 5,000.
So
Year three, now you're
now,
paying more than you charge, and you still haven't paid any of the 5,000. So if you pay that $2,400 a year for 10 years, you pay 24,000 in interest and never paid off the first five. That's what credit card companies do, and that's why I call it a scam.
so if I am putting things together correctly, it sounds like your first piece of advice, after actually looking at a budget, if that's even something that's there,
Mhm.
it sounds like the top piece of advice is avoid credit cards. Never.
No, no. Let me
No?
back it up.
Oh,
I'm
okay.
not saying to I'm not saying to avoid a card because the world revolves around credit. What I am saying, and I do this myself, if I charge anything this month, I pay the entire balance off next month when the bill comes in.
Mhm. Do you still recommend the credit cards even for those, like you were mentioning, turning 18? Do you think that uh, that individuals that young are ready for that level of responsibility to be able to pay off a credit card balance in its entirety?
So here's what I would suggest. If someone who's 18 who legally can do things on their own without an adult, because technically they are an adult, right? But not, I'm talking about parent. I would take that card, if possible, lower the limit.
Hmm.
So if you lower that $500 limit to 100, charge, pay it off. Charge, pay it off. Once you get into that mindset of not carrying a balance and not paying interest, then raise it to 200, 500, 1,000. But do it slowly and prove that you can do it. Now, that is a challenge, and I get it, because at 18 years old, I have this credit card, and all of a sudden, I can charge $500. Why would I lower the limit to 100? And I get that.
Do
But
you? Oh, sorry, go ahead. Please.
somebody has to educate not just the child, but the parents.
Mm.
And what I'm in the process of doing here in New York, where I live, is in October, because I understand September in school is crazy with teachers and classes changing and kids. I get that. So I'm waiting until October. And I am going to the town that I live in. There are 18 high schools. It's a very large town. I am going to go into those 18 high schools, and I'm going to have sessions with the seniors, their parents, and the teachers and faculty. And I'm going to go through a whole bunch of scenarios, including credit cards, so that everybody gets educated. So when that credit card comes in for that senior, the parent is smart enough to say, let's lower the limit or monitor it, charge less, show me you can pay it off. But
That
it's
was
the
what I was going to
parent's
ask.
responsibility. Yes, it's the child, but child's 18. Yes, you're an adult age wise, but mentally, maybe not, because it's a brand new world out there and you have friends and you want to buy the latest iPhone and do whatever you want to do, but somebody has to keep you in check. So I think credit cards are good if used wisely.
No, you definitely answered the burning question that I had, which was there every 18-year-old I would say is at a different level of
Mhm.
maturity. So I was going
Yes.
to say, what if there are those ones that can, put those blinders on and say, okay, no, there's a $500 limit. I'm going to limit myself to 200 or whatever it might be.
Mhm.
Would that be okay? And I think your answer was perfect. Somebody else, while they're in that transition type stage from, um, being under the parents to being an adult, someone's still kind of looking out for them and helping them make sure that they're managing the money responsibly. So
Right.
that's a very good answer. I like.
There's another thing that can be done. And again, it's the parent or parents that have to do this. Before the child, I keep saying child, the young adult, before they turn 18, get that person a secured card. That means that they can give that child a card with, let's say, a $50 balance. You want to use it? Go use it. You have to pay off the balance, because once the 50 is used up, it's done, because you're putting money up front and you're charging against the 50, in this case, $50. If you charge it and can't pay it off, you don't deserve your own credit card with a much higher balance. If you can handle the 50, then maybe make it 100. Charge the 100, but you have to pay it off. It's not the parent's responsibility, it's the child's responsibility, which means go get a job. So now you're teaching them not just about credit, but now you're also getting them into the workforce. Do something part-time, go mow a lawn, do something to make some money to build your credit and to get a work ethic. And there's a lot of good kids that will. But as a general statement, if we want to get the whole population going in the right direction, then we have to be monitored, and that comes from the parents.
Do you think, and I don't know, I think that there are, um, you're talking about parents and helping their children navigate this process, and we mentioned when they're 18. Are there cards that will do the same thing while the child is still in the home so the parent can monitor and have face-to-face conversations, and then that way when they do turn 18, they're a little bit more prepared than, oh, I'm an adult and I have the full responsibility. Is that something that you would advocate for?
Absolutely. And that is the secured card. That's
Okay.
exactly what that
Okay.
is. So while the child is still living home and the parent can monitor it, because the parent puts in my example, the parent puts the $50 on the card. The
Gotcha.
child can use the 50, but has to then pay the 50 back.
Gotcha.
Not the parent, the child. So again, they get the responsibility, they get the mindset of, if I charge, I have to pay it off.
Okay. Now it's making a little bit more sense. In my head, I had just 18 plus for
No,
some reason. So that actually makes so much sense.
right.
And then by the time they are 18, that credit would be in their name, right?
Correct. Because now they're an adult, it can be in their name.
Yeah.
Before 18, the parent can monitor it, which is, in my mind, what should happen. So you build the positive patterns, the positive charge, pay, charge, pay. Yes,
Okay.
you're thinking correctly.
Okay. Wonderful. Wonderful. That's really good advice. Even for teachers that are watching, even if you don't have children of your own in this situation, that's something that can be spoken about in school because
Mhm.
uh, there are many opportunities with parent nights and such to help educate. And you're doing that work. So that's wonderful. It really is. Okay, so we've covered credit cards as a great tip and making sure that they are used in a very controlled fashion.
Mhm. Right.
What about those that just say, I am, you're out of school, you have these student loans,
Mhm.
you're working full time, and that's kind of your whole life as a teacher. It really is.
Right.
It's so time consuming, and even when you're off the clock, you're not off the clock. So, what advice would you give to a teacher that says, okay, I'm not really budget mode. I'm laser focused on getting student loans paid off, or something along those lines where they're just like, I'm barely able to make the student loan payments. Maybe they don't even focus on paying it off. They're just focused on being able to make the payment. Those that are still dealing with the student loan aspect, what advice specifically would you give those teachers?
So there's a couple of things to think about on student loans. The first is, can that student loan be refinanced? In some cases, they can. In some cases, they can't. Depends on the loan itself. But typically, student loan interest rates are pretty high. Can they be refinanced down? Because that, even that 1, 2, 3% interest difference in the interest rate could save a lot of money on a monthly payment. The other thing to think about is, there are companies out there who will work with you to renegotiate and try to reduce the amount that you owe, either on a monthly payment or just that total amount that you owe. And there are some good companies out there, but I would caution that if you use one of those, make sure you ask the right questions and read the paperwork, because some of those companies, again, are legitimate, but some are not. And the ones that are not will charge you a large fee. They will then negotiate down. But what is in the really small fine print that they don't tell you, but because you signed the paper, you're now aware, they'll destroy your credit rating.
Hmm.
They're going to reduce your $100,000 loan down to 50,000, and you think that's great, but they just destroyed your credit rating. So while again there are some very good companies, I'm just suggesting to be aware that when they give you paperwork, that you read it. And if you don't understand it, give it to somebody else who might understand it. Because once you sign, you're liable. Because again, you're an adult, you signed it, you're liable. So this is a cautionary note that you can do that. Now, when it comes to student loans, I just tied up with a company. Um, if the student loan is a federal loan, not private, if it's a federal loan and it's at least $30,000 and you're no longer in school, okay, which I'm guessing most people are not, this company, and I don't know how they do this, but they go out and there's something in the promissory note that you sign, and they take that promissory note, they go to the lender, and they negotiate a monthly payment for you of zero. Zero.
Hmm.
And once you make that payment of zero for 20 years, there's something in the note that says your balance is discharged. You no longer have to pay it. This is what they do. I don't know how they do this. They've been around for 20 years. They have an amazing reputation. So, this is an opportunity that, again, most people don't know about, that can help people get out of debt. Not only get out of debt, student loan wise, get out of debt, but also take whatever they're paying on a monthly basis and maybe go to zero. So that frees up all that extra money to do other things.
You
So
know,
again, it's a case by case basis, and we would have to sit down and talk. And it's very easy to do. There's no cost to apply. I take some basic information like name, email, and the amount of money you owe. That's all I need. And I submit your information in. The company contacts you and they do whatever they do. And if you qualify, it's easy. But again,
awesome.
most people don't know. So this, again, this is a value add again that I don't charge for. But again, as an educator, I'm spreading the news, the good things that are out there that people may not know about.
Yeah, very interesting. It sounds a little bit like a form of loan forgiveness, which
It
is uh,
is.
it's an amazing thing out there. I know that there are you have to be very careful about how you approach it. So that's wonderful, a wonderful piece of advice to go through
Mhm.
professionals. Interestingly, Chelsea and I went through a process just recently with her student loans, and she was shocked at how much she was able to get her loans reduced down to. I think her monthly payments, and she told me it was fine to share this, they were around, I think, 220 a month. And they
Okay.
were able to get it down to less than 20. And we learned
Wow.
quite a lot in the process. So yeah,
Mhm.
I agree. There are so many nuances to student
Mhm.
loans that
Right. Right.
going through professionals is an amazing idea. So
Right.
awesome, awesome. I love that advice.
Yeah.
Um, so we've kind of touched on this a little bit. Struggling to budget in general, it sounds like you look at potentially increasing the income. I'm assuming you also look at ways to reduce expenditures as
Correct.
well. Uh, Assuming that someone has done this already, so you've had a look at the budget, you're doing whatever you can to either increase the income, reduce expenditures. What if you hear that I just don't have enough saved for emergencies, or I struggle to save for emergencies? What advice would you give that individual teacher?
An emergency fund to me is something that absolutely is needed because you never know. You could get a flat tire, you could have a medical, go to the doctor. There's any number of things that can happen. Kind of what I said a little bit earlier. When you have the net income coming in, take something small every month, $20, $25 a month, and put it towards an emergency fund. And understand it's emergency fund, so you can't tap into it unless it's an emergency, right? Um, but pay yourself first. Then take a look at whatever's left. What bill can you push out? Um, I look at food shopping. Do you need steak? Can you eat hamburger? You going to Starbucks twice a day? Can you go once a day? Do you need the Hulu, the Netflix, and all those other things? Really take a look at what are you spending, what's a nice to have versus a must have. And part of what I do is to ask those questions because I'm on the outside looking in. When you look at your own expenses, yeah, that's okay. I need this. Yeah, that's okay. I need that. But I can ask those questions of why do you need that? Is there a less expensive version? That's the questions I ask to help to free up, even if it's $10, $15, $20 a month, free it up. And over time, that money will build in a checking account. But again, it's got to be segregated specific for emergencies. And that's how I suggest if money is tight, and I get it, you're not going to save that 1,000 overnight in a week, even a month, even in 6 months. But once you put away that 10, 15, 20 a week, every other week, every pay cycle, once it starts to grow, the mind says, oh yeah, I can do this. I see it starting to slowly grow. But it's all the mindset change because you have to get used to it. You have to be accountable. So let me be your accountability partner. We can check in once a month, 5 minutes, quick phone call, quick Zoom call, 5 minutes. Where were you last month? Where are you this month? I'm not going to ask you to prove it because you're an adult and I trust you. But that accountability phone call is enough to keep most people on track, knowing they're answering to somebody else.
Yeah, I think that's a great kind of two pieces of advice in one, really. So, uh, it sounds like the first step is put something aside, even if it's just a few dollars, so you're developing that habit.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So that's a great piece of advice. Cut out Starbucks one time or whatever it might be. I think you said something like a Hulu subscription or something. Really
Right.
check all those things. Do you really need every single one of those? And then that's a second really good piece of advice. If you're still struggling, or even if that's not a specific thing you struggle with. It sounds like an accountability partner in finance is helpful across the board, right?
Mm-hmm.
For
Yes.
whatever particular thing you're struggling with. So
Correct.
awesome. And you are willing to be that accountability partner.
Mm-hmm.
Like,
Right.
oh, that's an amazing thing. That's huge. So love it. I love all of those tips. Anything else that you feel like teachers need to know about managing money before we move on to the second category?
One of the things that, again, from my sister being the teacher, um, every year she had to, well, I guess she had to get the classroom ready for the students coming in August, September, whenever your school year starts. But one of the things she started to do was originally she said, I'm just going to go to the local store and stock up on whatever she needed to for the classroom. But when they gave her multiple classrooms, it started to get expensive. So she went out and found a discount store. So it was less expensive. She also started to price out the local discount store versus um, an Amazon. Where do you get the best prices? Where can you get bulk discounts? So in my sister's case, she was putting that money out of pocket. So how do you minimize that out of pocket? And that's looking for discounts. So the kids don't know where you got it from, but she does because she's paying for it. So she price shops online. Doesn't take long. She has a whole bunch of sites bookmarked and she goes site to site, you know, 2 dozen pencils, 3 dozen pens, 4 notepads, whatever she's looking for. Price one against the other. Go to Walmart, price things out. Sometimes you can get bulk discounts if you team up with other teachers and buy larger quantities, you may be able to get better discounts.
That's a great tip.
So
Yes.
those are things to consider.
Hmm.
Just trying to think outside the box.
Yeah,
You know,
teachers are definitely in that situation. That's interesting that, I think a lot of people outside of education don't realize how much teachers spend out of their own
mhm,
pocket. Should they
correct.
have to? No, but we do it anyway. Even when there are classroom budgets available or department budgets available, it's often either not enough or for a very specific purpose,
Right.
um, or you still have to um, go through a reimbursement process. And again, there are still limits involved with how much you can get reimbursed for. So
Right.
excellent, excellent. Yeah. Um, I like that. I like especially the tip of coordinating with other teachers if they are going to be getting similar type materials. So love
Right.
it. Thank
It makes
you.
sense. It just makes sense.
Thank you.
Okay.
So our last topic for today is something that is very important for teachers. However, it's not often discussed openly. Most teachers, I would say, and I'm curious to see what you think, but I would say most teachers don't even know where to begin in this process. And that would be a pension and or retirement savings. So the issue is I'm worried that my pension and or my retirement savings won't be enough for when I actually
Uh-huh.
retire. And I will preface this by saying for many teachers, the pension is no longer even an option. A lot of
Oh,
Yeah, when I started teaching, and this was 20 years ago, if you can believe that. 20 years ago, they were starting to phase out, at least where I am in Washington State, they
mhm.
were starting to phase out the pension option. So I can't speak for all states and all options, but for many teachers, it's just the retirement savings option.
Wow.
Um,
Okay.
if you ask a teacher what the deal is with their retirement, I would say a lot of them don't even know where to go to log in, what company
Wow.
it runs through. So it's a little bit of a mystery. I won't say that for all teachers. There are some teachers that are very keyed in, but I would say a lot of teachers are really just trying to get by day to day. Retirement is something to think about for another time. But even if they don't know where to go to access this information, it's still something that they worry about. Is it going to actually be enough
Uh-huh.
when the time comes? So, how would you start that conversation with a teacher that says, I'm genuinely worried about when I retire, am I going to have enough to get by?
So there's a whole bunch of things in there that you just went through. Um, there really are, and I mean I can go down a rabbit hole, but I won't. Um, my first suggestion is for a teacher, if they think they had a pension, to go to their school, their principal, whoever, and get the documentation, which they are entitled to receive, got documentation about the pension. It should tell them where, oops, I have to plug my laptop in. It will tell them what company, and based on certain information, they'll be able to log in and see what's there. That's the beginning to see what's there. Now, once they understand that, then the question really becomes, you're putting money away, how and where? I'm not asking how much, I'm saying where is it invested? If the money is in the market, and then you can see my finger, the market will go this way. It goes up, it goes down, it goes up, it goes down. If it does that, the teacher runs the risk that when they're ready to retire and the market happened to have gone down, they're going to have minimal dollars left to retire on. And they're not going to have the time for it to come back. So the first thing is, who holds the money? What's it invested in? And more than that, when are you allowed to move it from the current person that holds it to something else? And I'll get into that in a second. Because if your money goes up and down, there's no guarantee you'll get the ups, but you're going to lose on the downs. If you can move it to something else where it's safe and you don't have all that up and down, at least you know you have money at the end. So the first thing is, where is it, who has it, and how is it invested? Now, if you're, I guess for lack of a better word, if you're a newer teacher and don't have a pension, do you have a retirement? Same questions. What's it invested in? Again, if it goes up and down. We also need to figure out, what are your goals? How much can you put aside? If your budget is super tight and you can't, then again, one-on-one conversation. How do we get you some additional income so that you can then retire later, take care of your kids, leave a legacy, do all those fun things that everybody wants to do, but maybe not able to afford to do? The other thing to consider, if you have a pension, when can you take it? Because I know in New York, if you retire as a teacher, let's say at 58, 60, 62, you are not allowed to take your money out until you're 65. So what do you do in those couple of years? So what I'm suggesting is, and again, every person is different. If you have a pension and you're not sure it's going to be enough, can we supplement that with a retirement plan? So now you have two that are building, not just one. Pension plus retirement. Another question to ask with a pension, and it should be in the documentation. This sounds bad, but you have a pension, you start to take money out, and you graduate life, which means you pass away. Um, what happens to the rest of that pension? Does your spouse get it? Does it go back to the insurance company? These are all questions to ask. Now, let me overriding statement. What I just said is probably confusing. And that's high level. That shows you how crazy this gets. And again, it's one of those, they want it to be crazy so you don't understand it. But I will look free, again, free. If somebody can get the documentation for their pension plan, get the electronic version and send it to me, I'll read it. Again, I don't care how much money you have. I don't care. That's not the point. What I'm looking for is, can you take it? Is it protected from the market downturns? How long will it last? These are questions that you just said teachers want to know. Now, my guess is in a given state, teachers have the similar retirement plan because state by state could vary. But within a given state, and again, my sister's in New York and other people I know are in New York, they all have the same plan. So if I look at one, for the most part, I'm looking at everything. So if people have that same plan, we can find out how one person is impacted or not, and then how it impacts everybody else. And based on an individual basis, we can then start making decisions of, do you leave it? Do you take it? Do you add to it? Do you not add to it? Do you stop and then create your own retirement? There's all kinds of options out there. But one of the things that I do is I take away all that cloudiness in people's heads about, what is this? I don't understand it. And I get it. It's very confusing. And again, it's meant to be confusing. I don't want to make this sound like a downer, but that's why I'm here. I'm here to help. And I've said it over and over. I want to help. My sister was a teacher. I get it. I want to help people to be able to live financially the way they want to. And if right now you don't know if that's even possible, that has to change. That mindset has to change. But because you're not supposed to know enough, then you need somebody like me to come in and make some sense out of it. Look, so you have a curriculum, right, from the state that says you have to do certain things every day over the course of the school year. I'll give you the curriculum. I'll give you the steps to follow, and let's set up a curriculum. And the end result is you graduate, and you have a better understanding of your whole retirement plan.
I love that. And you're not charging for those services.
Correct. I'm not.
That's amazing. That's absolutely amazing. So there you have it. So Steve Kent is willing to take you from the very beginning individually. If you don't know what's what with your pension and or retirement savings, and he will walk you through the process. So that is an amazing offer. So yeah, I would say the information you need is at least the company. They need to be able to log in. So most likely, an individual teacher would have to go to, obviously, if you can't get the information from a fellow teacher about how to locate your retirement, what company you go through. Most likely HR or someone at the district office
Yeah.
would be able to guide you with that. And then once you have the login info, even if you don't understand what it is that you're looking at, that is where Steve would come in and help you with that. And I'm sure he's going to look at all of the details, what kinds of investments you have, and uh, what kind of rates are being charged with each of those. And I know from my personal experience, it wasn't until after I left teaching I had to look at my situation and what was going on, and I realized that um, so many investments were placed um, in a way that had very high exchange fees. And so I was able to make some changes there. There were limitations on what I could uh,
Mhm.
make choices on. So, you might not be able to necessarily uh, change some of those types of fees. But yeah, let Steve take a look if you are worried, and he'll make sense of it for you. So that's an easy answer to that
Yeah,
question. So yeah, no blanket answer. Just find out the information and then take it over to Steve, and he'll take care of
yeah,
you. Love
yeah.
that. I love that. Um, Anything else that you wanted to add, Steve?
No, I'm excited to help. I love doing that. And as I said in the beginning, my why statement, I want to help people not make the same financial mistakes I made. Because when I had the issues, I lost it all. And I had to rebuild from zero. So I understand, and that's why I want to help people. Because again, shortcut the time frame because we're not getting any younger. And the longer we wait, time's ticking and our retirement just starts going, smaller and smaller. So act now. Don't wait. Because if you are in a great place, and that's my hope that you are, great. The faster we know that, the better. But if you're not, the faster we know that, the better. so, so either way, time is really important for your own financial future, for you, your family, whoever else.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It sounds like no matter what financial situation the individual teacher is in, whether it's at the very, very basic levels of just trying to figure out how to budget and save for emergencies, or even if they feel like they have a really good savings, it might be more on the retirement end. Is it going to be enough? Do I have it invested in the right places? Steve, it sounds like, is going to take care of you. So, what I'm going to do is I'm going to get all of Steve's information linked below the video so you can contact him regardless of what stage in your financial journey you currently are working on. And I'll also link information about those professional student loan places that we
Mhm.
discussed, so that way our teachers have some resources
Right.
for getting help with student loans if that's one of their top concerns as well. Anything else that I should be thinking about
No, I think
for the
that's it for
teachers?
now. I think
Okay.
that's it for now. I do offer ongoing classes. I think we talked. I have, 10 different um, information only, webinars on Zoom that I could, offer again, no cost to educate. It's all about the education. So we can definitely talk about those and schedule those, however often you want to do that. Um, I'm all about sharing. I'm fully transparent. I, I, I don't want um, someone to say you never told me. So I'm
I
fully
love
transparent.
that. Love that. Thank you so much for your time today, Steve. I
My
know
pleasure.
that we have some uh, plans in the works for future sessions. So Steve is not going anywhere. He will be back with many, many more tips in the future. But for
Mhm.
now, I think that was an amazing start. And like I said, I will link everything down below. Any parting words?
No, just thank you for the opportunity, and I look forward to working with all the teachers. I think you do a great job, and I'm proud of the work that you do because in many cases it goes unnoticed. So thank you for everything you do.
Oh, that's so nice. Yeah, definitely. It's a not I don't want to say thankless because it's not completely thankless, but those thank yous go a long way. So That means a lot. All right, awesome. Well, you have a wonderful rest of your day, Steve, and
It's
hopefully we'll start getting you in touch with some of these teachers that want
perfect.
some help at no cost to them.
Thank you. Have a great night.
All right,
Thanks.
thanks.
Take
Bye-bye.
care. Bye bye.